Okay, I have a little problem here. I was wondering what should I do about this Impact review because of what happened with Crazy Steve, as you see from the title. I thought maybe I should leave this as a separate Gump report. But then the full context of what happened during this show, it could be separated, but it doesn't feel like it should be. Because, let's make this clear. This is actual real life what happened to Crazy Steve. This isn't a joke. This isn't a work. This is a shoot, guys. When they do those type of specials, like they with Kaz, it's not a joke. This is what happened to Kaz. This is what happened with Crazy Steve. The Impact Diaries are what happened to the people as they trained and did what they did in Impact. This is an extension of it. So, I don't want to make this a separate Gump report, but then a part of me wants to. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to do the regular review. I'm going to give you my feelings about it. And I'm going to recommend you think very carefully. This is something I'm going to repeat again later in this video. That if you are going to hear me say what I'm going to say about what I heard with Crazy Steve, and add a little bit of my own life into it, because I'm not innocent either. I've been abused just like Steve was. I want you to be understanding the context of this, but also if you have a problem with anxiety, depression, think carefully about this. Because the way Crazy Steve talked, it was very personal. And what I'll say is personal as well. So if you're not seeing any doctors and you have been having a problem with anxiety or depression, get some help. If you have to see after this, the hotline that was on Impact, just check it. If you can get it in wherever you live. If it's in another country, consider it. I know this is long-winded, but I had to do this because this is an extremely personal thing that can really trigger people. And it's not something I'm doing on purpose. But if I want to review this properly, you deserve the right context. Okay. I'm moving on to the show. We got a little bit of a surprise here, guys. 2 women's matches back to back. AEW is not doing that. WWE is not doing that. If anybody from WWE comes here and say, oh, Impact sucks, shut up. Saying it now. Shut up. If someone who loves AEW says Impact just isn't nothing, shut up. Shut up. I'm not being disrespectful to you, but I'm telling you to be quiet. You know why? Because when you look at both of your products, you're looking at AEW, which I review and I do care about, WWE, which is pissing me off, but still I do care about many of the people there. Their women's divisions are not good. Flat out. Impact is the only one that gives women's division, or the knockouts, more proper shine than AEW does or WWE does. Even though they don't perfectly book, let's be honest. Their booking is never perfect. And I'm one of the people who critiqued it more than anyone. I've been doing this 11 years, guys. I've critiqued it more than anybody that still reviews at all. Only this slide channel. Well, Jesse from. I'm not bashing Jess. I'm not bashing him. He's only just started doing his reviews. He decided to try Impact. He loves the product. I'm sure he will give his feelings on the Knockouts division himself if he feels like they're not doing it right or if they're doing it great. He's going to give his feelings. But I'm doing this 11 years. I've been doing this since 2012. I've had 11 years to review the show. So I can tell you right now, they've got a better product than anyone, even though the women are always kind of up and down. I'm just saying. But they've been more up than down. I'm being honest here. Let's open. Deonna Purrazzo versus Kelly. What happened with Deonna and her intro? She came out first. Colin King came out second. We got her music, but not Deonna Purrazzo. Why? Why did they cut it out? Couldn't they manage to do an overrun? I'm really surprised. And then when we actually got the match, here was the problem. Camera wasn't very good. We got a lot of zoom-ins. Someone like Vince Russo or somebody else was doing this. That sucked. Now, it wasn't like that. Sorry about the mic. It wasn't like that all the time. But I am going to tell you that throughout most of the show, and I'm going to be covering the rest of the show, camera was so spotty. There was no joke. The camera work was not very good. A lot of times they were out of position. Other times they just didn't switch correctly. This is one of the MOs of Impact Wrestling right now. They don't have good cameramen and they don't have good production truck or production. Where either the camera work is not right, they're not in the right positions, they don't switch correctly, and it looks very choppy for people at home. Everybody at the arena is going to have fun. I believe I saw Jesse again because they were in Chicago still. This recording was in Chicago. So I'm sure I saw Jesse. And he was literally facing where the hard cam was. The main camera, they just showed the entire ring. And he was in, I believe he was wearing, what was it? A basketball jersey in gray. So I think that was him. So he had a full row seat. He saw everything. There wasn't a major issue for him. But for us, we still don't get good camera work. AEW's cameras are still better. WWE's cameras are still better. It's just the way it is. And I really believe that they need to do something about the production value. It cannot be that hard to switch people out and tell them, do the switching better. To switch the cameramen out and say, you guys, and they're big men, they're not small, they're chunky guys. Big, chunky men holding big-ass cameras, which I don't understand why they're using such big cameras. They can't use smaller ones that still have, that has maybe software stabilization or maybe a gimbal built into it so it would be more steady. You can't tell me they can't buy cameras that are similar to production for movies that usually will have a steady cam that has a gimbal on it that they could strap it to their bodies and they can watch everything and move around. It can't be that hard to get those type of cameras. I'm sorry. Yes, it'll be $60,000, $70,000. Yes. But it would be worth it. And then just have people who know how to produce the camera work properly. But that's just me. In the end, you know who won. Peraza won by submission. Venus de Mayo all the way. There's just no way she was going to win. And I don't hate Kylie King, but she wasn't going to win this. It just wasn't going to happen. Next, we had a three-way dance. We had Killer Kelly of MK Ultra, which I wish they showed more of them in the back. To show more of their personality, but they haven't done that much. They're just letting them go in the ring. They're having the lighting for them, which is Killer Kelly's lighting, which is all right. I got new music, and I approve of the music, and I can understand why they're doing the lighting because both of them just love blood. It makes sense. When it comes to Jessica, she didn't have no intro music, and there was nothing for a Savannah Evans. She came out, I believe, last, but really, she didn't mean anything. No, she didn't come out last. I don't know who. I think Jessica came out second, and MK Ultra's wonderful Killer Kelly. I love that lady. She's gorgeous. She just has that grin that shows that she's crazy, and she goes well in the ring and talks well. We get this match, and it was funny to hear them say, and this is Jessica and, well, Jessica didn't say it, Savannah Evans. Right when they're about to fight, and Savannah and Jessica are basically in their faces, and Killer Kelly shoves them back, saying, pay attention to me, and Jessica looks at her, put her hand here, and says, you need to be about this high to get on the damn ride, and you get shoved back. That was funny. That was. Now, everyone's going to agree with that. Now, everyone's going to like it. It is very cliche that a smaller wrestler like her is basically fighting against two heavier size, much more bigger wrestlers, like in Jessica as well as Savannah Evans. They're both much bigger women than she is. She might be about here, and they're both like here. And I'm not saying they're fat. I'm just saying they're bigger wrestlers. There's nothing wrong with it. Only thing, and let's make this clear, the only reason she won, and understand I love Killer Kelly, she won because she's a tag champ. There was no way they're going to let her job on an Impact show. She just wasn't going to job. But was it a good match? Her interaction with Jessica was way better than her interaction with Savannah. Now, I'm not saying Savannah Evans is a bad wrestler, but I think they really don't have much chemistry due to the fact they barely wrestle one another. I'm being honest here. I don't ever remember Savannah Evans even dealing with Killer Kelly much, maybe once or twice. Now, unless she's been doing on BTI, they need more time together because Jessica, there was nothing wrong with it. But when it came to Evans, it just felt like she needed more time to really get used to her because I don't think those two ever really dealt with each other much. Now, mind you, I don't see BTI. I don't always have the time or I forget. So I have not seen if they've done a lot of work together. Maybe they have and they just don't have great chemistry. Or that might be the best they ever do. I just don't know. But that's just me. Now, the match literally of the night. Moose versus Kevin. Oh, man. Kevin Knight, I knew looked pretty good. His ring attire is not that great. His character seems to need more development. His mic skills aren't not too bad. But in the ring, he can wrestle his ass off. He can. He's that good. And he went up against a Moose that actually I'm quite surprised that he's still in Impact. And mind you, I want to make this good before I go into that match. I love Moose. The guy's a great wrestler. He's a great character. He busted his ass to get over an old debunked title. Let me say that I love Moose. Like I said earlier before my battery died, I love Moose. But literally, he's done everything in the damn company you can do. He's been a tag champ, as far as I remember. He's been the debunked now, pretty much Impact Grand Champion. The only thing he hasn't done is the Digital Media Champ. Did he do the Digital Media Championship? I can't remember now. He's done every position. I think he's even won the X Division title. I don't even remember if he won the X Division. But he's done so much there. I'm surprised he wants to stay there. I thought that by now he would say, you know what, I need to move on and try something different. And then come back later. Because he can do that. And I wouldn't have had a problem if Moose came back. Be gone for a year. Maybe work with AEW for a little while. Or MLW. I'm not saying they're great or not. I'm just saying for him to just travel around. Go to MLW. Go to NWA. Go to AEW. Try a little bit for about a year or two. And then come back to Impact. Because I know he's synonymous with Impact Wrestling. But he decided to resign, I believe, or do an extension to his contract. I can't remember which one. My nose is itchy, sorry. This is what you get for allergies. But now that I've said this, I am still happy he's there because you just brought out a great side of Kevin. Kevin Knight and Moose got great chemistry. He literally basically go to hell a Kevin Knight so high in the air with himself. It looks like they were almost parallel with the top ring rope when they were maybe in between the top and the middle ring rope. So here's the both. They were probably here near here. That's how high he jumped up in the air to do his go to hell with Kevin Knight. It was that destructive. And then doing his Uranagi on him, in other words, just sit his ass down and splat him. Kevin sold that bitch like a champ. This match made the crowd hype for the rest of the show. Not saying that all of the matches were great, but this really did help them. And I gotta say this, the audio in the arena was loud enough that you can easily hear when the fans were not excited and when they were. So I commend Impact for increasing the volume on the mics that were on the arena floor. That really helped a lot because a lot of times they don't and it always feels muffled and you never get the full scope of how great the fans are there. So they did a good job there. In the end, you know Moose was going to win. Of course he's going to win. He had to win. But Kevin pushed him. He didn't push him to the limit. He did not push him to the limit. Or beyond the limit. He didn't do either one. But he pushed him, which I did like. And due to the fact that this match was just because Moose and well, if you did see before this happened, when Moose and Brian Myers was annoying Santino, wanting to either get a match of this, get this, that's what this match was all about. I'm glad it happened. Now, I know Brian Myers next week is going to have a shot at Alex Shelley because of an incident. But we will see if Alex Shelley is going to keep his title at Wrestleverse United 2. And hopefully I will be doing that review because I just realized I thought it was going to be at night at 8 o'clock. If they didn't show the time at 5 p.m., I would have tried to look at Wrestleverse at 8. And it would have been either almost over or would have been over. It counts on how long it is. So I am very glad I did notice the time. So I should be able to watch it. But oh my gosh, I would have missed it, guys. I didn't realize when the time was, so cool. The next match, Khan versus Eric Young. I gotta say this about Eric. The music is good. The lighting's okay. The match was good. Wasn't great, but it was good. But here's the thing. That mask, I think I got it in my face. That Destro mask is, of course, it could be the man in the Iron Mask, but that's more like G.I. Joe and Destro. If you don't know the old G.I. Joe from the 1980s, or any of the other G.I. Joe iterations, Destro always wore a mask. That's the way it was. He could never take that damn thing off. I'm just telling you, it looks beautiful. It's not a hockey mask, it is a Destro mask. Now, the match with Khan was not that bad, and the camera work was sloppy. It was. It started doing this. And honestly, I hate when they do that. It takes away and it cuts the immersion. I still don't understand why people believe to make it impactful, you got to zoom in and out. And I don't agree with that. It's a waste of time. An honest waste that people would rather see the match than see how the impact could make them think it's special. It's a waste. I want to see the ring. I want to see how the moves are done. I don't want to see this and miss everything else. But in the end, we did get... Let me give it to you like this. Once he won, and Diener went into that ring and whooped that ass. Well, mainly Khan whooped his ass, but Diener took out a chair, DDT'd him on the chair, and I do believe I got a shot of it, and it really didn't look so good for Eric Young. I think he did get the crown of his head onto that steel chair. I think I got the shot of it in my face. There it is, but if it isn't, I'm sorry. That didn't look like it was fun. It was not fun. And it made me a little worried about him. It did. I'm not going to lie about it. But it was okay. But now, what's going to happen? Are we going to get Angels working with Eric Young eventually? Alan Angels used to be part of the design. But now, since Khan is there, is Angels going to be working with them? Counting if he's still there. I don't know if Angels is still working with Impact. I think he did sign, but I don't know how long the deal is. So if he's still there, we just haven't seen him for the last couple of weeks. But hopefully, maybe Alan Angels will work with Eric Young to try and get back at Diener and try to stop Khan. Because I have this feeling that Khan and Angels are going to work with Eric Young eventually. I think. But that's just me, guys, down below. Here's the match that was good. Yeah, wasn't great, but it was good. And it had the ending that I'm not going to say I didn't disagree with. That is Black Taurus versus Bully Ray. Now, Bully, beforehand, when he was speaking, before Brian Myers and Moose came in, and then Moose had to have that match with Kevin Hart, Bully was begging him to do something about PCO, and then tried to save face and say, you know what you got to do. You heard what I said. You know what you got to do. But before that, he says, do you see what this guy is? I put him through a table. I put him through another table. I set him on fire. He doesn't stop. Why did you do this to me? You got to stop this, begging like a bitch. But we get his match against Black Taurus, who, for me personally, look, Black Taurus has been with the company for more than a few years. And he should have been pushed more than what he was. At least he should have been X Division champion at least once. And I don't agree with what has happened here with him. He should have already been a champ. He should have. There was a point where people really want Black Taurus, and they still do, but they never pulled the trigger on him. Why? Because he can't speak Spanish? Or, I mean, not Spanish. He can't speak English, which makes no sense because they did with Penta Cermiero. They did with Pentagon Jr. So there's never been a problem when someone can't speak Spanish, they would do something with them. But what is it? I'm just saying. Is it because he can't speak English? Is it because he's not reliable? Is it because they never saw anything valuable? They just can't fit him in? What? What is it that they don't do something with Black Taurus? Because he could have been a tag champion already, and he could have been an X Division champion. Hell, you could have thrown the Digital Media Championship. And I will talk about Wheeler Yuta and no, Uemura, not Wheeler Yuta. Yuri Uemura in a minute, along with Joe Henry. I will say something about that in a minute. But I just don't feel like it's right. Match was fine as a no DQ. It was basically a street fight. Okay. Bully won. I was not surprised. Now, when it came down to it though, when PCO came out after it was over, seeing him go for the table, then came jumping back up, makes perfect sense with PCO. He's a nut. He has to be indestructible. It makes sense. But the question's going to be, what type of match is PCO and Bully Ray going to have eventually? They got to have a match. They're going to have a match. I just don't know what would be the best type of match. Tables, ladders, and chairs. A Falls Count Anywhere match. A Last Man Standings match. Those seem too simple. A Full Metal Mayhem match? No. Monsters Balls? Maybe. My feeling would be maybe Last Man Standing. Might be the best next to a Monsters Ball match. Guys, tell me below what you think would be the best. Because I don't know. Now, might as well do it now before the last match. I believe I talked about everything. Let's go to the... I got to do this for my... You know who you are, my friend, Stefan. Stefan. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sure you're going, what? If you haven't seen Impact, you're going to be disappointed. I hope you see it already, because I don't want to disappoint you before you watch it. But, oh my nose is so itchy. Guys, how can I say this? Knowing that Johnny Swinger, who's got a title shot, is not going for the main title of Alex Shelley. It's not happening. Nope. I said that if he does go for it, they're going to bury his ass. It will be not even a good joke. It would be a destruction. They would just get it over with. I've said that multiple times before. I did. They were not going to make it funny and hilarious and fun. They were just going to destroy him with Alex Shelley. Now, someone decided in creative that why are we going to let Johnny Swinger, why are we going to let John actually do this match? No. He is going for the Digital Media Championship against Kenny King. Kenny gets upset because he now found out that old fuddy-duddy who's 748 years old, and Kenny King ain't that much older. He's like almost 40, I believe. He's nearing 40. He's not young. He's not in his 20s. I think he's late 30s, nearing 40. And if I'm right, Johnny Swing is like 47, 48 years old. He's younger than me, obviously. That he's pissed off that he's going to have to fight him about his Digital Media Championship. The DMC, he ain't happy about that. And pretty much his Shelton Gene by his side, who supposedly lost a match on BTI to a Johnny Swinger because of Heath. I'm like, oh, my friend ain't going to be happy. Now, maybe he'll be laughing about it because maybe he will see it that way. But if I know him, he's not happy. I know you're not happy, my friend. You know who you are. I know you're not happy 100%. You were looking forward to Johnny Swinger possibly winning the main title, and it would be hilarious, and that's what you cared about. But as I said multiple times before, I didn't see that ending well for him. As I said, I felt like Alex Shelley would, or Josh Alexander, would destroy him. They weren't going to be a joke. It wasn't going to be a joke thing. I've said this, and you remember me saying this. So now he went from being possibly here, where they could have set something up at Bound for Glory. And I'm not saying that would have been great, but they could have set that up. And maybe they could have made it funny. Nope. They dropped it from here to here. Now, maybe that'll still give you a good laugh or two, my friend. But your wish for him to be here at the top tier, where I myself wanted him to be more serious, just this one time, to stop joking around and be, instead of daddy, but be like a Santino Marella. Remember, guys, back around 2006 or 7? No, 2008, I believe. Santino Marella went from joking around and being funny to one time being serious, and that didn't just get him over. It got him over big time. Huge. So, I was hoping they would do that with a Johnny Swinger, but that didn't happen. Nope. He's been gone here to there. I had to say it. Moving on. Now, Chris Sabin was angry about what happened with Lio Rush. And he can't wait to get his hands on him at Wrestleverse, Emergence, I believe? Emergence. But as he's talking, Samurai Del Sol came out, and he was not pleased about what happened. He wanted his shot to show what he can do as a debut. So, an arrangement between the two. Next week, Samurai Del Sol versus a Chris Sabin. This will be interesting. Now, I don't know if he's signed or not. This may just be a short amount of tapings for Samurai Del Sol, and that will be it. Or he's signed a year contract or more. I don't know. I haven't checked. But this will be interesting, seeing Samurai Del Sol, someone supposedly that's a legend in the lucha business. We will be seeing him. Hopefully it'll be good, because I've never seen Samurai Del Sol. Unless he was under another name in maybe WWE or NWA. I've never seen him. So, that's just me. I'm telling you below. Tell me below what you know. Now, what is next here? Oh, the montage and singing of a Joe Henley with a Yuri Uemura as a tag team. We get the montage of them trying to practice being in tandem, being in sync. The new Johnny Swinger and Ziggy Dice. I'm sorry, my friend, I had to say it. I'm saying it now because Uemura is going to joke around most of the time with Joe Henley. They're going to be joking around. Yes, they will be serious in the ring, but outside they're going to be joking around. They're going to be going. That's most of what we got. I am glad they're doing something with Yuri Uemura, with somebody that can help him with his character and help him to get over, even if he doesn't have a lot of charisma. If you look at the Hart Foundation, remember, the one who had the most charisma was Jimmy Hart. The second one who had the most energy was Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The one who was just straight, who just didn't really have that much, was Brent. But being with Jimmy, being with Anvil, it just worked. He could just be straight, and it was fine. Having Joe Henley with Yuri Uemura, guess what? He can be straight, talk whatever English he can talk, and Joe can balance it out by either doing a little bit of comedic stuff, a little bit of more serious stuff, and be by his side to help him if he needs a little bit of motivation or backup. And I'm not saying, Joe was behind me, I give him a like this, but you get my Joe comes out of this thing right here, I would just smack him in the face, get the hell out of my house. But you get my point. Now, let's see, anything else here? Dirty Dango talking with Alpha Bravo about a Jake something. Now, I truly believe the person that should have won that Digital Media Championship was not Kenny King, was not a Johnny Swinger. It should have been a Dirty Dango. I believe he would have been the best person to carry that title. Particularly, he's got the right person by his side as an Alpha Bravo. Alpha Bravo should be by the Digital Media Championship. But you get my point. Him trying to get over a Jake something is fine. Talking about Tinder. What? Who is still on Tinder? But you get my point. I'm just saying that he put him over pretty well, and now he's going to have a feud with him. But it would be better with the Digital Media Championship around his waist. I'm just saying. Final match. That is the final match to see who will be the one to go up against, I believe it's at Emergence. And this is to go up against Subculture for the titles. Rascals versus Rich and Sammy. It was a good match. What? Only thing I was really worried about was at the end. And I didn't expect Sammy and Rich to win. I want to make this clear before I talk about Rich. I had this feeling that the Rascals were going to go to Subculture. There's just no way. I didn't believe that Rich and Sammy were going to win it here, even though I want them to win, because it would be one of the few times you'll see them together in a way that's really means something, because I'd rather see Rich face Sammy for the World Heavyweight Championship because they never got that chance. Rich got hurt. Sammy was dealing with Tessa Blanchard. Then once he came back, Tessa was gone and hurt the company. And Rich was dealing with Eric Young at the time, who was bringing in the Violence by Design. So there was never any time for them to really do what they should have done. Brother versus brother for the damn title. So I was hoping, even though I didn't believe it was going to happen, at least let them have the tag titles together. That didn't happen. But for me personally, seeing that the Rascals are being pushed and finally getting an actual title is cool. The only thing I'm worried about, and I did check before doing this, because I spent like 8 to 10 minutes checking the different sites to see if there was a report that Rich had gotten hurt. Because when Alex Wentz jumped over and did his heel onto Rich, Rich's, his left knee looked like it got twisted beyond hell because of the way he landed on him. Because he was not near the mat. He was outside the position where the floor mats was, and he looked like he might have twisted his knee really bad. I'm hoping he's fine. I'm hoping he didn't hurt, because once he did that move on him and he repositioned himself, he was clutching, I believe, his left knee. It didn't make me feel comfortable. He did not get back onto the back into the mat, into the ring. He did not get back in. And they finished the match without him even being there. So I am hoping he didn't just blow out his ACL, MCL. I'm hoping he's okay. For me personally, that is the most important thing. Them losing is fine. I just hope Rich did not get hurt. Now, was this a good show? Yeah. Does it lead into WrestleVerse United 2 for the bells? What was it called? WrestleVerse United 2. I can't remember what the rest of it said. No. It's more towards Emergence than it is WrestleVerse United. So this is more going to the one that's in the 27th than it is for the 20th. That's just me. Okay, guys. This is the end of the review, other than what I'm going to talk about with Crazy Steve. If you're not comfortable with this, I suggest you just be done with it. You can just switch me off. And that will be it. But I have to talk about Crazy Steve. I got to. Let's make this clear. The first episode of this is supposed to be like a 3-part episode. I didn't want to talk about it. Because a lot of times when you talk about things like this, about child abuse and having a bad life and having issues, not everyone wants to hear it. It can upset them. And that's the reason why I didn't say anything about Crazy Steve last week. I didn't. I left it out completely. But due to the fact of how much he talked here, and due to the fact of how they were promoting a hotline, talking about if you got depression, if something messes with you, really take ownership of this and get help. I had to say something. When Crazy Steve started showing pictures of his own family, his mother, his father, talking about how bad his father was, and him being beaten by his father and him having to deal with it, I knew this was not going to be pretty. I knew this could be upsetting. Then hearing him talk about him wanting to become a pro wrestler, his dream for being a pro wrestler, and his mother having issues like cancer, having depression, having other things, that struck home for me personally. Then the final thing, for him wrestling 12 years, and finally in 2012, I believe he said, 2012, when he came in with Rosemary, that he finally got a contract. And he finally got to be a real wrestler in a real promotion, and his mother being his biggest fan, as he said. She never got a chance to see it because 3 weeks before he finally signed his contract, she passed away by her own hand. She took her own life. And he was told, when he came in, you're going to be part of the menagerie, and you're going to have to paint your face like a clown and be funny and fun. That was his gimmick. And he said, seriously, I don't know how I can do that. But he did it. And the key of this entire thing was that now that Rosemary, Havoc, Black Taurus are all doing something different, Rosemary is now Courtney Love, Jessica exists in Havoc, Black Taurus is working alone, he's by himself, and Todd asks him, so what are you going to do now? He says, I don't know, that's what this is for. And they're doing a continue of it. Guys, this was a emotional one for me. I want to say this clearly. At this point, you don't have to hear my life story. And I don't want to say a lot about it because it is very private. But I have learned something in the last 11 years I've been doing this. Sometimes there are people that are on the other side of this other side, who are watching you, who's going through something. And sometimes they need to hear that if someone's going through the same thing as them, are they going under or are they trying to be more? Because I've never lied about the reason I came onto this show. Just basically the reason I started doing wrestling reviews. And that was due to the fact of having gained hypertension through depression and anxiety. I got depression and anxiety. I stopped working, 13 years ago. Due to the fact I already had a pre-existing condition in my hip. I fell onto diamond plate steel at work. And I could barely walk. And I spent 13 years having to be stuck at home, trying to not get evicted from my home twice, trying not to go insane, being stuck in an apartment, and having depression and anxiety that I gained mostly through my mother. My mother had depression, and getting it through her abuse, my father's really bad abuse, the abuse I got from my ex-wife, which she has her own issues, and feeling guilty that I could not be there for my son. Yeah, I have a son. He's going to be 27 this year. Yeah, I got a 27-year-old. But for me, it was hard to deal with stuff. I'm not going to lie. I would cry in my apartment. I'd scream in my apartment. And with several things that's been going on in the last couple of years, particularly the pandemic didn't help, and several incidents that was happening in my building or in my area that freaked me the hell out, made it even worse. I even said it last year that there's several situations been going on which has made it hard for me to focus. I would do animation. I don't usually show anymore. Maybe I might show a scene of what I produced over the years. But I've done animation with music animation, using software called MMD. And I have not been able to go back to it for a year due to all the stress I've been going through lately for the last year and a half to near 2. So it's not been easy. But I can tell you, as someone who recognizes what I have, that I made the conscious choice to do everything I can not to let it get me. It doesn't mean it doesn't. I go for walks. I do art now. If I can't do my animation, I try to do art on the computer. I still do these. I try to talk to people. I try to give to others when I'm not interested in. When my birthday came around in July 27th, last month, I was so frustrated because of a situation that happened in this building that what I did, I decided when I had to go and do physical therapy, because I do require it to take care of my pain management, I decided to be kind to other people and help them. I got them something. Instead of something for myself, like buying a cake or something, or buy some type of gadget, I went and gave something to somebody else. They say if you feel bad, give to someone else to try and make yourself feel good. I'm saying this right now as somebody who's sweating in this apartment in a small room that has no air conditioning, that it is not easy what you got. I don't know if you got anxiety. I don't know if you got depression. I don't know if you got schizophrenia or any type of mental problem because of an accident or frustration or just plain getting frustrated with your life. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. I'm not going to tell you you're going to get out of it. But I can tell you that at least know that you can get out of it. It's not easy. Just try to take it one step at a time. Don't quit, which is very easy to do. I could have quit a long time ago. I might not even be alive right now if I just gave up. But as a tough son of a bitch, stubborn as hell, I chose not to give up. I hope this kind of helps. And this is really long. I think this video is going to be 45 minutes long. So I hope you enjoy it. Peace.